What if we could reduce theme park wait times by 20% without increasing ticket prices? I'm about to share with you one of the best conversations I've had all year, and it all starts with this AI generated box. It turns out it's the key to dramatically increasing guest happiness. Now, everyone is talking about AI, but no one actually knows how to use it in order to make guest experiences better. No one except this guy. This is Shalabh. Just one name. He's the co founder of Assert AI, a company that started out in manufacturing before getting into the attractions business. So I had what I thought was going to be a normal conversation on the IAAPA trade show floor, but then my eyes were open as to what this AI technology can actually do. It can reduce labor costs, increase revenue, save wait times, and dramatically increase guest happiness. Anyone who operates a large entertainment venue should be paying attention because it's a groundbreaking tool that can help you identify and fix problems in real time. Listen to the end because Shalab is doing his best to make some of the worst parts of theme parks better, and you're about to find out how.
Okay, my name is Shalabh.
Okay.
I'm one of the co-founders of Assert AI. We are a computer vision platform.
Okay.
And so what our software does is it can give it any video stream, right? And it can identify, it's a mimicry of the human eye, so it can replicate a human eye. So most of our work involves using closed circuit TVs. So if you already have, CCTVs up there, for example, right? So any large physical facility that has CCTVs, you can plug in our software and start creating real-time operational data. So, in the context of hospitality, that would be flow data, throughput data, movement of people data, how many people do I have in line, what is their experience like, are there some attractions that are more popular than the others, and you can then use that data to do a number of different things like, I could do, real-time reaction to big crowds, right? I could, for example, open a new line, open a new counter. You could do dynamic pricing based on that data and say, if I have an attraction that is overly busy and another one that is almost free, I can discount the one that is almost, there's no one there. And then that way I can have happier customers and make more money as well. So those are some of the applications from an attractions perspective.
Yeah, and I know a lot of times there's wait time signs that, and I'll use Disney, that's the most obvious example, but there's other parks as well that will have a dynamic wait time sign. So they'll send someone with the pass through and it'll say 30-minute wait, but I've actually heard that they'll even lie and say, well, it's 45 minutes over here so that they can load balance the park a little bit, and of course they're not charging for an attraction because it's pay one price at the gate, but not every park is like that. So there's Knoebels, for example, in Pennsylvania that you pay at the attraction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think there are two aspects to this, right? One is, even if you're doing that at Disney today, is your data actually perfect? I mean, is it the true reflection of reality, or is it if someone passing through doing whatever they're doing may get the wrong data? One. Two, you're doing that one moment in time. I mean, are you doing that all the time? The thing that changes with tech like this is I can actually measure wait time for almost every single person all the time.
All the time.
Yeah, it's always on, it's 24/7, it's real time. And then you made a good point about, if I have paid attractions where I pay attraction by attraction, any time that I am waiting in line, I am unhappy and you are not making money. Right? So ideally you want me not waiting, because all wait time is wasted opportunity to make money and wasted opportunity to make a customer happy. I mean, they're not there to wait. They're there to have a good time. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's that cost of, we can't afford to put in another attraction and they don't have any other choice, so let's just make them wait for 30 minutes. But ideally, in a world where they have to swipe a credit card to get on a ride, then you would want them to be 5-minute waits or less every single time. And let's just break this down. So if I were to go give guests at the end of the line a red card and say, when you get to the front, give it to the cast member, then they're getting a 30-minute wait time, but that's just one snapshot in time, and so you'll get one data point. And you're not going to know until you do that again in another 20 or 30 minutes.
What the wait time was.
So you've got thousands of times more data points with the software that your company provides.
But plus the other thing is, so the way our software operates is we can set up thresholds, right? So you tell me what you think is your ideal wait time, or not an ideal. Let's say you say, what's your outer threshold? I don't want anyone to wait for more than 20 minutes, right? The moment someone waits 20 minutes, you will get a live alert that will tell you someone wait more than 20 minutes. Now it's up to you what you want to do with it. I mean, you say, if it's a check-in counter, for example, I can open another check-in counter, right? I mean, worst case, you hand out candy to everybody in the line, right?
Sure.
So at least they're not unhappy.
At the airlines, they hand out free pizza.
Exactly.
When the airline is when the flight is 4 hours
late.
old.
Right. Yeah. So that kind of stuff, you can. There is an element of knowing it real time all the time, which you can at least react to, right? Even if you don't fix that going forward. And of course, to your point, I get all this data, I can use it to fix it going forward because now I have patterns. I mean, I don't, I can tell you what type of traffic to expect between 9 to 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, and how is that different from, 10 to 11 a.m. on Labor Day. Because I'm getting data,
you'll know
all of that data.
Historical data, and just as a
you can forecast a lot better.
Yeah, I used to own a smoothie franchise, and I would look back 5 years at what we did on September 10th every year, and I would know, okay, we're making X dollars per day, and I know if I'm $200 high that day, or however much it is, then I can add somebody else, but it's reactive, it's not proactive, and so you're allowing people to react in real time.
React and be proactive, because react in real time comes from just telling you this is happening, and proactive comes from having all this data and then being able to forecast, because then we do a forecast and we say, hey, your typical Tuesday looks like this, so you should staff up like this, right? From 10 to 11 a.m. you are really busy, you need to have 4 people by, because if you have only 2, which is what your current plan is, you should expect 20-minute wait times.
Right.
So it's sort of being able to plan a lot better.
And I feel like that would help companies save money, because now they can move people to the right place at the right time. You don't have to staff a restaurant with 40 if it only needs 32.
Yes.
But those 8 could then, from 11 till 2 they're in the restaurant, but at 2 o'clock they go work the parade.
Absolutely.
Or whatever that is.
Yeah. So one piece is saving money from a productivity and right staffing standpoint, but the other point, particularly from if you have multiple attractions that are paid in one facility, it's improving throughput and revenue. Because if I can, and one of our clients, we've saved after a 12-month period, now their average wait time is 15 to 20% lesser than it used to be.
Really?
Yeah. So which basically directly translates to 15 to 20% more time spent
in the park.
In the park, doing something. I mean, in the best case, hopefully they are spending money. Well, you're making more money.
They're either on a ride, or they're walking to a ride, or they're in a restaurant buying, or they're in a retail location buying something, or at least shopping for something, which that
would not have happened.
Right. Every minute that they're in that retail environment, the chances of them buying something goes up.
Right.
And the longer they spend in the park, the longer they're, the hungrier they get.
They get.
So,
Yep. Because your kid is going to say, I want pizza now, right?
He sees the pizza. He has the opportunity to see the pizza, and so now he's
And the other thing
begging
is, even if they don't give you a single extra dime, they're still happier than they were. I mean, they were not happy standing in line. No one is happy standing in line.
Right. And so that gives you the added benefit that they're going to come back next time.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So a whole host of advantages.
Yep.
Okay. So you're here for the very first time. Where's your company based?
Based in Chicago.
In Chicago?
Yeah.
Okay. Who's your typical client?
So 60 to 70% of our business is in manufacturing and distribution. So it's manufacturing clients. Also kind of looking at doing very similar things like productivity, right? I mean, let's say I'm assembling water pumps, and I have multiple cells that are assembling water pumps. I want to know how many are being produced by each every hour. Are we on track? Are we off track? Are there interruptions? Are there disruptions? So, oftentimes in assembly, for example, one of the things that will happen is I'm supposed to put 5 parts together. I only have 4. If I don't have the 5th one, I'm just
stuck.
waiting for the 5th one, right?
Right.
I mean, does anyone know that? Today, without this technology, no one knows that, right? I mean, you kind of get to know about that eventually, but eventually it's too late, right? So a lot of them are our customers. Aside from that, more adjacent to, theme parks and stuff, we do have a large chain of indoor water parks in the US that we work with.
With water parks, you say?
Yes.
Okay.
With a large chain of water parks. I can't name them because I don't have, marketing approval for that. We work with a very large coffee chain in Saudi Arabia. Again, all of this focused on throughput, productivity, customer experience, wait time.
Sure.
The common thing that ties our customers is they have large physical operations, right? I mean, if you have a 2,000 square foot, or a 1,000 square foot store, you can see everything. You don't need a software to monitor.
Right. But if your park is 100 acres.
Yes. How many eyes can you keep on the ground, right?
Sure.
How do you collect all the data about where things are bottleneck, where things are working well, where customers are getting stuck, right?
Right.
So even things like I got a check-in kiosk. Let's say one of our clients has now they've put automated check-in kiosks. So while they put them there, they don't always work. I mean, sometimes what will happen is a guest will get stuck at them. Does anyone know a guest is stuck? So again, a camera on the top, we can tell you if someone has spent more than 5 minutes, someone will get an alert and they can go help them and say, hey, are you doing okay?
Yeah.
Right? Instead of having someone sitting there the entire time and doing nothing otherwise.
Or have them get extremely mad, and then the next interaction is it just goes downhill, and then they're mad, they leave.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. So, is this a software package that you offer?
All software, yeah.
Really? Yeah. And how does this work? Is it? Do you want to talk about the payment?
Yeah.
Is it a subscription-based plan, or how does this work?
So, a couple of things. One, we are a software, so we are hardware agnostic. We are compatible with 99.5% CCTVs out in the market. So, I mean, I can confidently state that guy out there, those two cameras.
Yep.
We can use those. So we have no interest in selling you more hardware, or we don't need specialized hardware.
So whatever existing infrastructure you have, the software goes on top of it. That's really
useful. So it makes it very easy because there's no big capex. Even if you do need to add a camera or two, so for example, if you want to monitor that area there, and there's no camera there, you want to add a camera, it's $300. And this is not like not talking millions of dollars, right?
Right. And the potential savings is
much more than that, right?
Than the cost of the camera.
You typically our clients buy their own cameras, or they have their own cameras. We send them a server, right? This is an AI server that is going to take all the camera feeds live, and our software sits on that server. So the reason we send the server, and I know a lot of people talk about the cloud, we don't do almost anything in the cloud for two reasons. One is, if I was to do this AI on camera feeds on the cloud, it would be near impossible to do more than 3-4 cameras, because you have to then stream video live to the cloud.
Okay.
And so you need infinite bandwidth. I mean, if you are, for example, a water park with 300 cameras, you are transferring something like terabyte of data every hour. Right? That's like very expensive, right?
Yeah.
So by sending you the server and keeping it on-prem in the physical space, you avoid any extra infrastructure costs.
And then what happens when the server goes down?
We have high availability servers, so it's usually a backup server with it too, right?
Okay.
So that server will access the camera feeds. And the server has the software, and it will create the data. So for example, the video I was showing you earlier about a check-in queue, it's doing all of that live. It's basically accessing camera feed frame by frame and saying, okay, here's a human being. This is how long they've spent here. This is how long they've spent here. And then it creates metadata. Metadata being, how long is it taking people to check in? Person one took 5 minutes to check in, so on. And that metadata goes onto the cloud. And that's accessible to our clients using a dashboard, API access. We create alerts like Teams alerts, email alerts, texts. There are a number of integrations possible.
Sure.
Particularly in industrial setups, we even have integrations with PAs and with, let's say a red light of some sort, which will say, hey, you did this wrong. It's priced as a software as a service, right? So you pay us every month for what you use. Typically, it is per use case. So it depends on the size of the facility. If you are a small facility with 20 cameras, obviously you pay us lesser. If you're a larger facility with 2,000 cameras, you pay us a lot more. Right?
Sure.
So think of it as a per camera per month kind of price that you pay. But how much you pay us depends on how many things we are doing on the camera. I mean, you're doing only one thing, or you're doing 20 things.
Right. And it's based on basically what you need.
Yes, absolutely.
And you can configure that solution based on the individual business. So if you're a water park, let's take your example water park case, what would that look like?
The pricing?
Well, not the pricing, but just we could talk about, obviously we don't want you to quote anything on an interview, but just in terms of what is the functionality that you're looking at for just your generic water park?
So for a generic water park, a lot of it is going to be flow, throughput, wait times, service times, employee productivity, input into dynamic pricing, right? So if I'm a water park, let's say, first time looking at your check-in queue and saying, how efficient is my check-in queue? How quickly am I checking in people? Do I have too many people waiting there? Is there a difference between how people flow through different check-in points, right? I mean, is, for example, one check-in point particularly slow than the other ones for whatever reason? Then once you get in, how do people flow from one ride to another ride, right? Are there longer queues at one? Are there higher service times somewhere, right? What is the utilization? So how long does it take for me to empty a ride and refill a ride, right? Because that time also is important. The longer you take there, the longer you're going to create a line, right? And you make less money. So all will be around flow, productivity, throughput, employee productivity, and all that stuff.
That makes sense.
We've also had some other interesting questions come to us, like even just restroom usage.
Right? Restroom usage, okay.
Yeah, which basically is
especially for the ladies, I would assume, because they tend to take longer. They all have lines,
so
and we don't.
More
typically.
the thing about that, more the cleaning frequency, because typically
okay.
the cleaning frequency is more like every 4 hours
Right.
or every whatever X hours, right? If I have, for example, a lot of people between 11 to 12, maybe every 4 hours is not good enough. And if I have no one between 12 to 4, maybe I don't need to do it every hour, right?
Right.
So it's just something as simple as somewhere in the hallway where the entrance to the bathroom is, where the restroom is. If you just count the number of people going in, every 100 you let the janitor, and so it becomes a more dynamic cleaning rather than a static cleaning schedule.
Right, that makes sense.
These are all. I didn't think of these things when I started doing some of this, right? But it kind of makes sense because all that by having a static cleaning schedule, A, your cost is fixed. You've already fixed your cost, right?
Sure.
B, your experience is variable. I mean, a guest going into the restroom at peak hours is going to be unhappy because it will be stinky, and you are spending or wasting a lot of money non-peak hours because you're just cleaning for no reason, right?
Sure.
So it's even stuff like that has started coming up, like including, one of our clients actually automated their parking, like started paid parking and automated the entry. Now they start having issues about customers getting stuck at the entrance, right? So just a camera there that says a car has been here for more than 3 minutes. Someone please call the guy and fix it, right? So it's some variation of flow throughput, like I said earlier.
Yeah.
But it is taking on very interesting and different
Right.
angles
So
everywhere.
let's actually talk about that, because I used one of these systems at an airport, and it didn't let me out, or didn't let me in. I'm thinking, I've got a plane to catch here. This is a problem, and it won't take my credit card. And so how does that work in a?
So in a setup, what we would do is you have a camera up there, which is anyway seeing cars come in. If our software saw your car for more than 3 minutes, it would alert someone who would call you, or would call at least the box there, right? And say, hey,
how can I help you?
Nate, looks like you've been stuck here for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Can I help you, right?
Yep.
As against either waiting for you to do that, or not even giving you the option to do that, right?
Sure.
I mean, oftentimes what happens is you press the bell there and no one responds forever, and you're just stuck, right?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, even anything, if you think about it, it's all still flow throughput and general wait time, but it does take, when you think about it, the number of small transactions that a guest does at a water park, it just adds up, right? I mean, from the parking through to check-in, to getting to the room, to waiting in lines at a restaurant, to waiting in lines for a ride, right? All of those you can just have a more real-time, much more responsive solution.
Yeah.
If you have the capability to get this data live and act on it very
well. And I mean, a perfect example of this is Disneyland Park in California. You have to wait in traffic to get there, and then you're waiting in line to pay for parking, but then you wait to park in a line of parking, and then you get out of the car, and then you wait to go down an escalator, and then you wait to go to buy your ticket, which takes a long time, because each person, they have to put data in for every single person, right? If you're not, even if you're on the app. And then they've got to take you through the security check. And then they've got to take you into the front gate and actually scan your ticket and admit you.
Right.
And so, and of course, then there's the wait times for the attraction. So just that experience of getting into the park is 7 or 8 long lines. I mean, it can take close to 2 hours, which I've experienced. So I can see how, if you did it right, not like Disneyland, hint, could definitely improve the guest experience.
Yeah, I just do want to say that, our technology is not going to solve all your problems.
No.
Right? But it's going to give you the data to solve your problems. It's going to give you the data to solve all those problems.
Oh, the data, okay.
Right, for example, I mean, I can't...
You can't solve but
I can tell you where all the blockages are. I can tell you where all the stuff, where you need to... So, for example, I mean, I haven't been to Disneyland in California, but I could imagine they could automate a lot of that process by making the guest do all of that the day before. Just like how you check in into an airline.
Yeah.
Why can't I do the same thing for Disneyland, right? Now, that's not going to be my software.
But you at least can identify the pain points.
Yes, and I can tell you, hey, if you've created a separate line now, so if you want to trial a software which lets people pre-register and have a separate line for them, I can tell you how much faster that line is. Say, the throughput of this line is 60 per hour. Your standard line where people are inputting data here, it's 5 per hour. So great, worth investing in technology more, right? So you can constantly learn and get data on how well is your operation doing, and where the possible issues are and what the root causes might be.
Well, this seems very valuable to a theme park operator. Just having been in park operations at different points in my life, I mean, intensely valuable. So, This is your first IAAPA?
Yes.
How long has your company been in business?
5 years.
5 years.
Yes.
So not a startup anymore.
We are a startup.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, 5 years of which really the last 2-3 years is when we've started doing a lot more. The first couple of years were sort of figuring out what exactly and how and where and so on and so forth.
Right.
Yeah.
And then do you do facial recognition?
No.
Not at all.
No.
But I feel like that's the next iteration, because if you can identify a person, you can figure out who they are, and then you can charge them as they get in, or...
So we can do it. Technically we can do it. But there are consent laws that govern it. Right? So that's up to our client and their guests. So if, for example, one of the theme parks was my client, they would have to literally get some sort of a consent from each of their customers who's on the platform. I mean, this can be done through some kind of fine print, I'm assuming.
Just make them
but
check
it still
the
needs to be
agree
there.
box.
Yeah,
Right.
but they have to implement that for us to legally do face recognition. Right?
Yeah.
It's not the technical infeasibility. I mean, technically it is feasible, and we can do it too. There are some places only very specific, access controlled industrial setups. So I have an R&D lab which can only be given access to 100 people, where we do facial recognition, but we don't do public facial recognition.
Sure.
Because this would, like, for example, in a setup like here, I don't know how that would work. I mean, I'm guessing the Orange County Convention Center has to get everybody to...
They could keep Joe from sharing his IAAPA pass with Bob, that kind of thing, which I'm sure happens. Yeah. But we were talking at Bob Rogers' panel, the Legends panel. They talked about how Universal Studios in Shanghai is using facial technology to get into the park. And of course, if you've been banned from the park, they can then keep you out.
It's also because it's Shanghai.
Exactly.
So
different rules in China.
A lot of different rules. I think casinos do that too quite a bit. Because the moment you even enter a casino, you are... I don't know the legalese around it, but that's how they keep out advantage players.
Sure.
Right, so they have, if they see you and they see you as the guy who does card counting or has been disruptive in the past, they kick you out. So it's certainly doable. It's just a question of the right, what the laws are, what is right by the customer, and what the additional value of doing that is.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. But for now, so you're providing customer data to theme parks, water parks, zoos, aquariums, any sort of retail operation or manufacturing operation.
Manufacturing distribution,
Yeah. Well, that's really valuable. So what are your expectations for the show?
Like I said earlier, right, this is my first time. We sort of stumbled into hospitality. Found a client, suddenly realized, oh my God, I mean, there is a lot of scale with a chain of water parks, and they don't have anything that gives them this today, and they find it really valuable. So we were like, hey, maybe we need to grow here, right? So I'm just looking to learn more here, hopefully meet a few people, kind of figure out, do they actually have these problems? Are they looking to solve these problems, right? And if yes, great. The other thing I'm looking for is, I think we're looking for potentially partners. Because we don't want to reinvent the wheel and have to go to market ourselves and set up a whole sales team and go after everybody right from scratch. I think there are other softwares that are doing things that are complementary to us. So let's say you are a point of sale software, or you are a ride management software, right? Or you are a property management system. All of those guys are already in these places. If we can find a couple of partners where 2 and 2 is 5, from a client standpoint, there and our software comes and adds a lot more value together. Then I think that would be a huge win, because then we don't need to I don't know the industry. None of us know this industry. So instead of trying to learn everything, if we can partner with the right people, that would be very valuable.
Yeah, well, there's the IAAPA folks who are basically everyone under the sun, and then there's the TEA people, Themed Entertainment Association, and those are the Disneys, the Universals, and you should probably get to know
both of them,
all of them, because there's a lot of the operation. I mean, I feel like your software would be really valuable to the operators.
I think the operators are the most obvious, because they are the ones that feel the pain.
Right. Yeah. And I think there's an FEC Expo, that's Family Entertainment Center. Those might be too small. Maybe it's not too small for you, because, for example, FEC, there's a place over here called Fun Spot, and I mean they have 6 or 8 million visitors per year, and they definitely can use that. Wow. And it's this very small thing. People go to Fun Spot when they can't afford Disney tickets, but it's great on Saturday night. It's busy, and it's it's a good place to go. So I feel like there's a lot of those mom and pops that could use this. Or I mean, obviously, all the water parks, all the zoos, all the aquariums have some sort of need for this software. Not to mention the hotels. So I feel like you've got a big pond to sort of tap into.
Okay. That's great.
It's just a matter of finding them, and that's the trick, right? Well, this has been great. Thank
you, Nate. Thank you for making the time. And
my pleasure. Yeah, a lot of fun.
Hopefully, I'll bump into you again.
Thank you so much for talking to me today about your product and your service, your software as a service, I should say. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Nate.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.